Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Autistic Voice Project. As always, my name is Matt Lowry, and I am from roughly Louisville, Kentucky.
And I'm Erin Findley, and I'm from Napa, California.
And
So
we,
today's going to be a little
oh,
different.
we are,
That's right.
yes.
Today is going to be a little different. Normally, Matt plays the role of the devil's advocate and asks all the questions, but today I get to do that because we are talking about PDA.
Ah,
Okay, now, Matt, what is PDA? How do
uh,
we define PDA? How do we find out what PDA is? Tell
so
me about it.
uh,
Tell me
to
things.
to an outsider, PDA is some sort of weird behavioral disorder that is called pathological demand avoidance
Oh,
because it is
pathological.
yeah, because again, they pathologize us. And
Hmm.
it's basically someone in a position of power tells someone who is in a non-position of power to do something, and the person who's not in position of power tells them to go fuck themselves. And
Mm.
they say, "Oh, clearly that's aberrant. That must be fixed. You must be beaten into submission." But the conventional label for we prefer is persistent drive for autonomy, which means that we would prefer to do things in the way that we would like to do them. Which, again, given humanity, doesn't seem like that big an ask. But I was thinking about this. Yeah, I was thinking about this like last night and thinking about paramount desire for acceptance
Hmm.
because uh, I am PDA. It's not one of those things that I realized because, like, for instance, like when we talk about autism, there's a lot of autistic people who don't see themselves in the DSM criteria for autism
Now,
because
why is that, Matt?
yeah, because the DSM criteria for autism was written by alistics, outside observers of the autism without without living the autism. So they
Hmm.
said, "Oh yes, clearly you take things literally," and we say, "I do not take things literally. You're thinking of kleptomaniacs."
That's right.
And they
Hmm.
say, "Ah yes, and you're socially awkward," and you're like, "No, all of my friends are fine. Granted, all my friends are cats, but yes, all my friends get me," and other such things. And when we reframe the DSM criteria like we did in one of the early episodes, uh, we see ourselves in the autism. And this is the thing about the
Hmm.
PDA, because if you see it as some sort of you know obsessive pathological defiance, I don't think of myself as particularly defiant. Granted, the people I interact with might disagree with me because when I worked in community mental health, they said, "Matt, clearly you don't understand autism," and I was like, "Kiss my ass," and they're like, "That's not an appropriate response,"
What?
and I say, "I disagree with you, sir." So yeah, but on the inside, it's an anxiety spike to where if things are dysregulated, if there is, I have an aversion to hierarchy, and this is a big thing that we in PDA we call equalizing, because I consider
Mm-hmm.
myself fairly egalitarian. If someone treats me well, I will treat them well. Doesn't matter if it's an adult or it's a kid. But if someone is going to be mean to me, I don't accept that and I shut down. And it's one of those things. So but if we have this safety, if we feel safe, if we feel accepted, we'll do all kinds of neat stuff. And
Hmm.
I think that it's a much more humanizing way of looking at things, adults or kids, to
Now,
say,
but hold
yeah,
on, Matt, because doesn't everybody want to be safe?
I would hope
Isn't
so.
everybody a little PDA?
Oh yeah, that, oh well, that, yeah, that's it's like being a little pregnant. Yeah.
Mm.
And that's the thing about it, because I again, I've never lived a life outside of my own head, so I can only speculate, much like the holistics who define autism. So
Mm.
personally, it's something that interferes with a lot of aspects of my life, in that I don't want to do a lot of things that other people would have me do. For instance, like as we were talking during the Christmas episodes about, having people over for dinner who, you know, prefer Nazis. I can't do
Mm.
that because if somebody says, "Hey, you're wrong. You need to do this," I'm like, we shall fight to the death then. Because and when we were talking about the Alex Preedy thing, I can't not just accept that, and I feel unsafe a lot. I prefer my house because the
Yeah.
outside world is unpredictable and unsafe, and I would rather be in my house than just about any place else in the world, minus maybe the Magic Kingdom. But it's one of those things that we have to, because the world seemingly agrees that I see the world as having an issue with pathological demand for compliance. That there's a lot of people who go to work every day, they get orders from their boss, they do the orders from their boss, and they don't think twice about it. If somebody tells them, yes, you should absolutely do this, they don't question it, and I don't understand why they don't question it. I don't understand why there's not a constant barrage of questions of, give me the minutia. Why do you want me to do this? When do you want me to do this? Why do you want me to do this? What's the purpose behind all this? I, it appears to me like that is not an issue for most people, but for
Hmm.
me, it definitely is. And I recognize that when I worked in community mental health, there was one time in community mental health where I was working for a doctor's office who opened up a community mental health clinic that only stayed open for 8 months before closing it because they didn't understand our field. And
Hmm.
they wanted to put tracking software on our phones. And I said, no, that won't be happening. And it surprised them greatly because they're all doctors in lab coats. And they say, but we've all agreed that since you're working in the field, we need to know where you are at all times. And I was like, no, I'm a psychologist. You should trust me because I have
Hmm.
advanced degrees, I have a lot of experience. And if I'm doing my work, you should trust that I'm doing my work without you tampering with my personal phone. And that caused a
Yeah.
great deal of issues with these people because I was being difficult. I was
Hmm.
being difficult in not letting them put things on my phone.
So I am not a PDAer, and I experience periodic demand avoidance, and situational demand avoidance. But what I've observed about my own experience versus the PDAers that I know and love is that you all have that, um, that battle, or that push and pull is a constant thing in all areas of your life.
Yeah.
Where for me, it's very siloed. Like most of the time, if somebody comes up and asks me to do something, if I'm capable of doing it and they're not being a dick about asking me, I'll do it, right?
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem, and there's no battle inside of me about like, why am I doing this, or should I, or you know none of that. As long as I understand the task and I'm reasonably willing, and like I said, they're you know reasonably pleasant about asking, I don't have any nervous system reaction to the request.
Yeah.
That is not the case. That was from what I've observed of my PDA friends.
Yeah.
um,
Well,
but what is it like for you?
even like right before we started recording this, you said, "Hey, why don't you open that invitation and see what that invitation's about?" And I clicked on the
Hmm.
invitation. It wanted me to sign into Gmail, and I'm like, nah, and then I
Hmm.
just shut it down because I was like, that's one demand too many. I don't want to do
Right.
that. Why do I have to do this extra step? I clicked on the button. I already clicked on the
Hmm.
button. It should have gone through, and I'll eventually go through and do that. But
Yeah.
that
Lazy.
it was that the spike of interruption of, no, why should I do that? That's an extra added step. No. And
Hmm.
that can be a bit problematic,
Yeah,
especially
where for me in that scenario, I probably would have rolled my eyes, but I would have done it.
Yeah, yeah.
I would have been like,
And
oh, okay, I got to sign in. And that's annoying, but that's the end of it for me.
yeah, yeah, and you saw my struggle with all of the YouTube stuff and the Google
Yes,
stuff
I
and
did.
the animal sounds that I make when I'm navigating such things, angry at the technocrats who force us to jump through all the hoops because I don't see the purpose of all the hoops, and it seems like it should be much simpler. Too many
Right.
demands at one time.
Well, especially when the demands are unclear
Yeah,
or
yeah. It's like
circular in this case.
yeah, yeah,
Would be...
the circular thing. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Yeah, that
It
drove you
still
nuts.
irks me. Yeah,
I know it does. I could see
and that's
it.
the thing. There's so many and this is one of the reasons why, like if I go out and get food, I always use the app because it bothers
Mm.
me to have a conversation about what I'm going to eat because if I say, I'd like a number one with a Coke, would you like this? No, if I wanted that, I would have said that. Well, would you like to round up? Why would I want to do that? Well, do you want to do this? Quit asking me questions. I just wanted my number one. And if
Mm-hmm.
I put it in the app, I can say, my code is 8149. And then we just go through it. It
Right.
minimizes and smooths out everything. And
Mm-hmm.
and that's the thing, because I think that it's the equivalent, it's the brain equivalent of being a sock person versus a barefoot person. Because
Oh, now you're
if
speaking my
you
language.
yeah, yeah, because if you walk across the floor and you can feel all the little gritty things on your feet and it
Mm-hmm.
drives you nuts, my brain feels all the little gritty things
Mm-hmm.
and it really, really irks me. And I don't like
Yeah.
that. And then I have to go and isolate for many hours. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I really think that my son is the same way because when he's in my environment where, we're just kind of chill and he's able to rearrange clocks as he likes,
Mm-hmm.
I've set up I've realized that I need to have a constant stock of command strips, both Velcro and stickies, on hand at all time because he will use all of them. And once I've gotten accepted to that, we're cool. I've
Mm-hmm.
got little boxes hanging up in the hall closet that he can take the boxes off, get his stickies out, get his hooks out, put it on the wall. I've taught him the proper way to remove a hook so it doesn't rip a giant hole in my wall. I've repaired the
Great.
giant holes in my wall, so that's good. So
Mm-hmm.
and that way we don't keep hammering nails in the wall. So we've eliminated all the rough spots there. So he can
Mm-hmm.
just put his clocks up, take his clocks down, take his stickies down, put his stickies up, and he can rearrange as he likes. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's pretty cool. You can rearrange your stuff. I'll rearrange my stuff. We'll sit here and we'll do our things. I'll drink my coffee,
Mm-hmm.
and every once in a while we'll talk. And our conversations are mostly of having fun. Yes. Oh, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Good conversation, son. And
Good talk.
but here he's very, very cool and very, very happy, and I've heard stories
Mm-hmm.
about in other circumstances where he can be very frustrated because he can't have mastery over his environment. So I think that we have what we call a low demand household, where I've taught him the efficient ways to do things. He's very, very happy now that I've taught him how to use the air fryer. So when he
Mm-hmm.
wants to make some chicken nuggets, he takes his chicken nuggets out, puts them in the air fryer. It dings. He gets them out on his own. And
Mm-hmm.
I've put the plastic plates on a lower shelf to where he can get his own plates, get his own bowls, get his own cups. I've got cups with lids on hooks so that he can get his cups with his lids. And then I've shown him how to properly load a dishwasher, because I will die on this hill. There's a proper way and an improper way, and you can either arrange it properly to wash all the dishes or be a crazed drunken raccoon. We don't do the latter.
Yeah. Okay, but so here's a question, and here's the mailbag question that inspired this topic for today.
Oh,
Um, doesn't so the question is, all the advice I hear about PDA sounds like work with the person, never force them to do stuff. But doesn't that reinforce the PDA? Isn't that setting them up for a disadvantage later in life? There will be things they have to do even if they don't want to.
that's okay. So if we rephrased That stuff you don't want
See
to
how he
do.
doesn't even like the question, you all?
Right.
Just
Yeah,
pointing that
exactly.
out.
Yeah, that's yeah, because that your question is bad and you should feel bad. Yes. Yeah.
No. We
No,
love
no.
we love our viewers and our
We
listeners who
do.
send in
W-
questions.
We
Thank you
do.
for sending in questions.
Yes.
And
Well,
also,
and
Matt doesn't
that's
like your
the
question, so he's rewriting it.
yeah, exactly. Well, and that's the thing because it's the same thing as well, the world won't treat them well, so why should I? It's all
Right.
the more reason to have uh it's like you can't breathe underwater, so why ever breathe? We we
That's an
we need
interesting.
we need a safe place to breathe. We need an oxygen tank. We need to know that there's places in the world where we won't have control over. If you go to the
Mhm.
DMV, it's hell. We're going to have to sit through that, and it's going to be hell. We don't have
Mhm.
any control over that madness. If
Right.
we have to go to God, I don't go anyplace else these days. Oh my. Uh, again, nice, safe at home where my coffee is.
Yes,
But
exactly.
that's the thing about it. I think that again with my son, I know that when he goes to school, he's going to have to do spelling words and he's going to have to do work, and he won't be able to, draw clocks all the time because they're going to ask other stuff of him, which is why it's imperative that he has that level of freedom here to release that pressure valve.
Mhm.
And it's important to know that I personally think that there's boundaries because I think that some things should be addressed and should be stood up for, but I know that the top down hierarchy system does not like that, and
Mhm.
that's the it's that old adage of give me the patience to accept that which I cannot change, the courage to change
Mhm.
that which I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Right.
I think that some things need to be challenged because we live in a system that is broken in great many ways and it needs more insight into what people need.
Mhm.
But yeah, we also need understanding, and it all comes down to security, to safety. See our previous episode, because if we
Right.
feel safe, if we feel supported, if we feel accepted, we're more likely to do the thing because
Mhm.
it doesn't activate that anxiety response. Uh,
Right.
but if there's, somebody, again, if somebody says, hey, you do this thing, I'm like, no, no,
Not happening.
no. Well, like, people might come to my door and knock on it for some
Mhm.
reason. And I'm like, why the hell are somebody knocking at my door? And
Mhm.
I'll just sit there and look, and they'll see me looking at them. And I'll be like, no, I'm not getting up for you. Who are you? Why are you here? I didn't ask you to be here. No, no, that's not a thing. Or
Yeah.
my phone has been on silent for going on 8 years now. And a select few people have the silence override. If my son has an issue and his grandparents need to get hold of me, they have an
Of
override, and I'll be
course.
like, oh my, I need to answer that. But generally speaking, if even if somebody wants to pay me for an evaluation, that goes to
Mhm.
voicemail and it says,
Mhm.
hi, you've reached my voicemail. I will get back to
Mhm.
you when I can, because I'm
Mhm.
not going to have that anxiety response of a phone ring while I'm in the middle of something. It'll be disruptive and I'll just bark at my phone.
Mhm.
And I think that's the metaphor about this, because if there's an occasion where a jumpy dog would start barking, that's your
He
PDA
will.
talking. Yeah,
Right. Right.
that's I don't like fireworks. I don't like strangers at the door. I'm essentially just a corgi in a human suit. So yeah,
Do you have a heart-shaped butt too?
damn straight. Oh yeah,
So,
it's Valentine's Day tomorrow. Check out my butt.
one of the things that I have found with my PDA friends is the more that they have a sense of trust in me and how I am with them and how I respect their autonomy, the more flexibility they tend to have with, like, if I say something in a more demanding kind of a way, like I can and do often phrase things in very low demand ways and in invitational ways, so that my friends and clients don't have that triggered or don't feel like they're getting shoved into a corner. Um, but when I have, when I've earned the trust of somebody who's a PDAer, they often can tolerate hearing higher demand language from me because they know that if they give me a no, um, I will honor it.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's a big thing because you've earned my trust over the past near decade at this point. Because
Yeah.
we've known each other for like 8 years at this point, and
Something
you've
like
gone
that.
to you've gone to bat for me several times in several significant ways, and that's why we're doing the podcast, especially after
Mm,
the last time, because my
yeah.
trust was in the gutter, and
Yes.
uh, PDA triggered all over the place on that one. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, you have earned my trust in many ways, and that is why I am willing to step out of my comfort zone on your behalf and listen to you, whereas I would not do that for another person.
Right. Right. Yeah, and also, like, even in discussing this topic, I was like, okay, here are some options. We could do the PDA thing. That sounded kind of interesting, and you seemed kind of intrigued by that and sparked by it. But there's also this, this, and this, and like, what sounds good to you,
Yeah,
right? And so I offered options, and you were able to select, and you were like, you know what? Yeah, let's do the PDA one. Okay,
yeah,
cool. I'm down.
yeah, and
And so go ahead.
oh yeah, yeah, and I think that's the thing that goes back to the original question of won't people need to do the thing? And you know, sometimes we can do the thing with the support. Sometimes we can't do the thing. But this is why
Mhm.
it's the what this is why it's more than just the doesn't everyone do that? Because we do
Mhm.
need that extra support to get over that hump into functionality.
Right. Right. And as somebody who, again, thinking about friends and clients who I've supported in this way, um there's often, many roads to Rome, which is a terrible and colonizer phrase, um but many people know what it means. But there's a lot of ways to do things. There's a
Yes.
lot of ways to get to a destination.
Better
And
than the cat
so,
metaphor. So yeah.
yeah, no, I'm not gonna talk about killing cats. Are you
Yeah.
kidding?
Yeah.
Uh-uh. Um, my my nope is kicking in on that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it's if, like, even if the choice is, we need to do X. Would you like to do it this way or that way? It helps
Yeah.
preserve some of the autonomy, right?
Yeah, because it
So,
needs to be done one way or another.
right. And so, like, we need to, maybe it's like food. Okay. It's time for us to eat.
Yeah.
Um, and we can do it in 5 minutes or we can do it in 10. We
Yeah.
can have chicken nuggets or chicken strips or hot dogs or
Yeah.
meatballs or turtle soup or whatever, right?
Hmm.
So the thing is, you gotta list, if you're someone who is supporting a PDAer and you're offering options, you have to offer options that you're actually willing to do.
Yeah.
Because if you're saying, oh, well, we can do it now or we can do it in 5 minutes, but doing it in 5 minutes really isn't an option,
Yeah.
then you're manipulating your person.
And that's a big thing with like my son because of he's got poor interoception. He doesn't know when he needs to go to the bathroom. He doesn't know when he needs to eat anything. So we'll negotiate, and I'll say, "I think that you need to poop today. What time should we poop?" And he'll look at the clock and he'll decide 12 o'clock, and then around 11:50
Okay.
he'll be like, "I gotta poop," and then he'll get up and run to the bathroom because I think that that's one of the reasons why he loves clocks so much because
Mm-hmm.
that gives him this awareness and this sense of autonomy. And I'll say,
Mm-hmm.
Belly needs food. We need to eat dinner at some point soon. What time shall we eat dinner? He will choose a dinner time. And I was like, what do you want to eat for dinner? And
Mm-hmm.
he'll inevitably say something like chips. And I was like, well, we need some more food besides chips. We have this or this or this. What food do you
Mm-hmm.
want along with your chips? And he'll be like, oh,
Right. So you're
McNuggets.
doing a yes and.
Exactly, exactly. Because you can have the chips. We do have the chips. The chips are a good side
Right.
food. We just need a main food. We need a star of the show. And then he gets to choose the star of the show. And then he'll go and make his own food because he got to decide at what time, what we shall cook. And he knows how to cook it
Mm-hmm.
himself. So he has absolute autonomy over all of that. And,
Right.
you know, if I eat all of his Pillsbury heart cookies, he knows how to make more heart cookies. So I was like, oh yeah, I thought you just wanted to make some heart cookies, and he'll just go in and he'll make some heart cookies. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and this is the thing that when we say low demand lifestyle, again, that's where that whole autonomy thing comes in. That's where that safety thing comes in, to where
Right.
there's no judgment on it. There's this
Mm-hmm.
respect. I
Mm-hmm.
dare say that we need more respect because, again, watching that whole Pam Bondi fiasco, there's a woman that needs some respect, or
Oh
that
God.
needs to
That needs
show.
to have respect
Yeah,
for some others.
yes, exactly, yeah,
Yes.
because yeah, yeah, that's everything about it is horrible.
Oh, people.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, and that's the big thing. There, people need some more just basic human respect for others, and knowing that, and this is like even the thing about neurodiversity, even if the fact about respecting others backgrounds or beliefs or ethnicity or cultures or anything, because there's no one right way to do things. That's colonizer
Right.
mentality. And if
Right.
we say, hey, how would you like to do this? What's your approach? Well, I think should do it at 3 in the morning. I don't know if I could pull that off, but hey, that's an option. So, yeah.
Right. Exactly. And like if you had wanted to record the podcast at 3 in the morning, then I would have been like, okay, the only way I'm doing that is in my pajamas, apparently.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that I want to be on video during wearing pajamas, but I guess if that's the only time you could do it, then maybe we need to not have a video option.
Yeah, yeah. And that's and that actually is a thing for a lot of my clients who are PDA, because they want to turn off their video while we're talking on, in a
Hmm.
session,
Hmm.
because, well, they also have perception sensitivity and all that, but it all ties
Yes.
together. So, and
Hmm.
it's like whatever helps you function the best, because my whole job is to help you get your goals met, get your needs met. So we've
Right.
got to be aware and flexible in that regard. I think that the
Hmm.
world lacks a lot of flexibility and understanding.
Yeah.
And
I think that's
by
true.
God, they need to do that, because that's the way, the one true way. And anyone who says otherwise is wrong. But yeah.
I
So
don't
yeah,
disagree with you, though. I
yeah,
mean, the more respect we can have for each other's personhood, the better off I think we all are.
yeah. It's a level of understanding, and again, I think that respect is really, really understated, especially in a culture that values conformity and the oh man, that other word, compliance,
Hmm.
because everything is based on how much money, and based on sociopaths exploiting people for their work value. We
Right.
need to treat people as human beings, not as resources.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But again, I'm the problem one, because yeah,
How dare you?
yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, so many experiences in community mental health. Uh, there was one time when one place announced that they would be giving a bonus if you made twice your productivity. You get $100 for making
Uh,
twice your productivity, and I
Okay.
was like, that seems ridiculously low and not necessarily attainable. And I
Yeah.
pointed this out in the meeting, and of course I was the problem for pointing things out in a meeting, and yeah, I That's just been,
Okay.
yeah, I've that's been the way of my life, because it's always pointing out the problems and saying, "Hey, have you tried this?" No, we've decided that we shall do this. We ran this past the executives. The executives all agreed. Did you ask any regular people? No, not at all. Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
that just didn't work, huh?
No, no, no.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm very much a loner,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that is the fate of a lot of PDAers. Well, I had a client a long time ago who, and again, I'll try to I'll scrub as many identifying traits as possible from this guy, but he was very much a loner. I saw myself in him in 40 years, even though
Mm.
he wasn't necessarily that old. But he spent all of his time in his trailer complaining about the world. He was passed from therapist to therapist because no therapist liked him. And then when he talked to me, he talked about his Johnny Cash trains and his X-Men action figures. And I was like, that sounds fantastic. I love this. And he would bring in his Johnny Cash train set. And I'll be like, oh my God, that's so cool. Look at all the details. I'm sure
Nice.
he's PDA and autistic. And then he would talk about black roses. And he planted black roses outside because he was very much into planting roses and growing roses. But of course, they were black because, he was a grumpy dude and he was Shrek in his swamp. And I was like, oh, that's beautiful. And he brought me some
But
black roses.
also, black roses are really cool
They
looking.
are, they are. And, he was one of my favorite people. And even long after I left that job, he would call me on Christmas and say, how are you doing, Matt? And I was like, I'm doing pretty good. How are you? Oh, everything's terrible. And this and this. And I've got my roses and I've got my trades and I got this new trade and nobody wants to see it. I'm like, oh man, you
Mm-hmm.
should send me a picture. And, he died several years ago, but he was one of my favorites because, again, I saw myself in him, and I think that he saw himself in me, and we vibed because we're like, yeah,
Mm.
that's stupid. Yeah, that is stupid. Why don't people just let us live in our swamp? Yeah, the swamp is the best. And I think it's the thing again, the respect. I respected him, and he in turn respected me instead of yelling at me like all of his other therapists. So
Right.
it's
Right.
one of those things. It's just the general acknowledgement of humanity.
Yeah. Is there anything else that might help our listeners, especially our non-PDA listeners, to understand their PDA friends more? Or maybe if someone is wondering if they're PDA, how they could figure it out or what they could read? Like,
I would
what do you have in
love
mind?
I would love to have a PDA test, but it's basically, here. Can you take this PDA test? No.
Oh, well, there we
Yeah,
go.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I mean that's the thing, and there's and this is a big thing about, like, when I see PDA kids of autistic parents, especially autistic parents who don't know that they're autistic or recently discovered that they're autistic, and they
Mm-hmm.
don't know how to handle this. And again, the
Mm-hmm.
belief that a quote low demand lifestyle enables kids,
Mm-hmm.
it's tricky because getting, because there are a lot of stuff, like, you don't want your kid to hit you. If there's a
Right.
big PDA response and the kid gets mad and hits you, that's a boundary. We can't do
Yes.
hitting. We can talk about, I am very frustrated. And with my
Right.
son, when he was little, he would hit me because he was mad that I wasn't there with him all the time because you know divorce and all. But
Yeah.
I've taught him a few key phrases like, I'm disappointed, or that was
Mm-hmm.
unexpected. And when things are
Mm-hmm.
unexpected, he can get very sad and he needs cuddles. And he can say, I'm disappointed because it didn't go the way that he anticipated, and he might
Right.
need a cuddle. And it's okay to be frustrated about stuff. We can't do harm on others because we are harmed ourselves.
Right. Right. And
And
it is totally appropriate to have, boundaries and limits, especially when you're talking about children, but also when you're talking about, peers.
yeah,
It's okay and important to have boundaries and limits. It's not that you don't have them. It's how you approach them
Yeah.
that's different,
Yeah.
right?
And I think that negotiation and communication is really, really important. And
Right.
it wouldn't, and again, this goes back to like cross neurotype languages, to where you
Yes.
understand how to communicate with another person in a way that gets your message through most effectively, because the message isn't just the things that the thoughts that you're sending out into the universe. It's the how they are interpreted, because
Mm-hmm.
you can send a piece of music and you say, "Oh yes, look at this piece of music." Oh, it comes across as like, I don't know, a declaration of war. You have to be aware of how you are sending that message out, how it might be interpreted, how it might be
Mm-hmm.
misinterpreted, and you have to
Mm-hmm.
better understand who you're relating to. And again, that takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of respect, it takes a lot of understanding. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
for anybody who wants to genuinely have a relationship, you have to put in this sort of effort, and
Mm-hmm.
it's necessary, and it takes some good faith, because especially if you have a PDA person who's experienced a lot of trauma from being misunderstood, from being neglected, from being shamed, it takes a lot of effort to show, I am a trustworthy person, and I would like to
Mm-hmm.
offer you this olive garden branch. That's that. Yeah.
Olive branch.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
Olive Garden branches could be the
Yes.
Olive Garden breadsticks, which are delicious. So
If
that could
somebody
also
offered
be an
me a
offering.
breadstick, I'm friends for life. Yes.
See?
Yeah. I
So I'm
mean,
telling you, Olive
I,
Garden breadsticks, better
yeah.
than olive branches.
If you give me a bouquet of Olive Garden breadsticks, I will sit and I will listen to you attentively.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way to my heart. That's my love language.
The way to your heart is through carbs.
Yeah, yes, very much so. Oh, fuck yeah. Oh my God, such good breadsticks. Ah, or a
They
good
really do
potato.
have
Just
good
hand me a
breadsticks.
potato, man. Yeah, it can be raw, but yeah, that's no. Just know that about somebody, and
Yeah.
be willing to be, I don't know, kind, and get it across, because I don't know. Again, it's just basic respect, and if you show respect, and this is the thing about, like, this is a big reason why I've always related to Beauty and the Beast, because
Mm,
I am a big hairy guy with sharp teeth that lives in a castle with magic things and a lot of books. And
yes.
if somebody says, "Hey, do this thing," no, no, in the dungeon you go. But if somebody
Hmm.
says, "Hey, you look like you're hurt, let me do that," no, okay. And like, have you tried eating soup with a spoon? I don't know. Seems a little shady, but I'll give it a shot. So I don't know. It's one of those things about this mutual awareness and respect and kindness that I think that we could use more of.
Well, and this is where we once again get back to universal design. Like, how radical is it, or how radical should it be, right? To treat somebody with the respect for their personhood and with kindness, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
that shouldn't be a big ask.
Yeah. And when I worked in the middle school, I had a number of kids that I got along with really well for all these reasons. And I would often talk about the golden rule, treat others how you're to be treated. And they'd say, "But they treat me badly." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's one of those things. And we have to be decent human beings, unless they
Hmm.
show that they're unsafe, in which case we unleash the dogs of war. But you can't, because you're a child. We have to do it in a way that works within the system. But that's but
Hmm.
apparently, again, as the release of these Epstein files show, that's increasingly unlikely. So
Hmm.
it but yeah, yeah, if you find somebody to be a curmudgeon, offer them breadsticks.
Hmm.
You might
And
get some good
choices.
results. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person that would befriend woodland creatures, because I would say, "Ah, yes, I understand what it's like to be out in the cold," and
Hmm.
have a friend that's a one-eyed wolf or something.
So, moral of the story, if you see Matt, offer him a choice between cookies, breadsticks, and chicken nuggets,
Hot damn.
and he will make a choice and
Yes.
probably also appreciate you.
Yes, very much so. Yeah. Amanda sent me pizzas the other day, and oh my God, those were great
Nice.
pizzas. So yeah,
Nice.
she has earned some trust there. So she's up there. So if anyone else also wants to send me some deep dish pizzas, hit us up on
Nice.
our website.
That's
We got a
right.
form. We'll add an option for pizzas and breadsticks and cookies and
Right.
potatoes. So yeah, we'll we'll have a potato offering. But yeah, that
There you go.
I think that that's the big thing about this, because
Mhm.
we are not defiant, we are not mean, we're just we are in need of acceptance. We are in need of safety.
Mhm.
We are in need of trust. And if you give us
Mhm.
the trust, we'll trust you back and get things done.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, I think that's a good place for us to wrap. It's been 40 minutes of our 20-minute episode. So,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
exactly.
so let's go ahead and call it there. And thank you so much for being with us. And thanks, Matt, for sharing your experiences as a PDAer with us.
My pleasure. We'll see y'all next time on the Autistic
See
Voice
you next
Project.
time.